Trump is doubling down on his criticism of the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV. Now, all this started on Palm Sunday at the end of March when the Pope said that Jesus doesn't listen to the prayers of those who wage war. Trump responded calling the Pope weak on crime, terrible for foreign policy, and saying the Pope didn't care if Iran had a nuclear weapon. Today, reporters asked the president if he thought he should apologize.
No, I don't, because Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran.
Now, the president kicked things up a notch, posting an image that appears to depict him as Jesus healing a sick man. He took the post down and explained it to reporters this way.
I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
There are now lots of memes online of doctors wearing that outfit in emergency rooms. Katie McGrady is CNN's Vatican analyst and host of the Katie McGrady Show on the Sirius XM, the Catholic channel. Katie, have you ever walked into a doctor's office and seen anybody dressed like that before?
I think the Pit's going to have to reshoot their season finale to put everybody in those costumes. No, my doctor's hands glow. That's really what happened. That was ridiculous.
I want to go to your doctor. That's the truth. I mean, look, that's obviously an absurd thing to say, but what's interesting about this is a rare moment of sort of bipartisan outrage, with the exception of J.D. Vance. Here's what he said.
It would be best for the Vatican to stick to matters of morality, to stick to matters of what's going on in the Catholic Church, and let the President of the United States stick to dictating American public policy.
Talk about the fallout that we're seeing today on both sides of the aisle.
It's been interesting that people from both the right and the left and the center, which a lot of American Catholics are pretty center. I mean, there are definitely MAGA Catholics and there are definitely very progressive Catholics, but the majority of American Catholics feel a little politically homeless, especially those who are maybe pro-life. There's been quite a few Trump administration things lately that have not been part of the pro-life coalition's plans, along with a lot of the progressive side. You know, obviously they would be very against many of Trump's policies. But today there was unity. Across Twitter, people who have voted across the aisle and across the spectrum, people who have lashed out on various items, usually feuding with one another, all of a sudden we're all kind of collectively enraged. Now, some people tried to Trump-splain in the same way that some people tried to Pope-splain. Everybody's trying to explain away what was just clearly immature, main character energy behavior of a president trying to get the Pope's attention and saying, I don't like you because I think you don't like me. I really feel like that's kind of what was at the heart of this. And so people saw that for what it was, which was a late night rant about the Holy Father, who has never actually called Trump out by name, but who has called war out by name, which is something that we would expect any pope to do. John Paul II did it during the Iraq War. In fact, popes have been doing it since Vietnam, long before that, in fact. The Holy Father is always going to be the advocate for peace and the gospel. And if that afflicts the president, I think that says a little bit more about where he thinks he is in all of this than it does about what the Pope is saying with regard to the gospel.
Well, I'm trying to sort of understand the Trump mindset. And here's what it seems like happened. President Trump was watching the Masters, and Rory McIlroy won. He put out a post congratulating Rory McIlroy. The very next show on was 60 Minutes. The lead story on 60 Minutes was three cardinals slamming Trumpism and his policies, and basically quoting the fact that the Pope is not going to be in America for the 250th anniversary, is going to be focused on refugees instead. The whole thing felt very, very anti-Trump. And Trump has been trained for decades that if somebody punches you, you got to punch back harder. And just like any opponent he's ever seen, he thought the Pope is my next opponent. I got to punch back. We can't let this go without punching back. It seems like that's what happened, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great analysis. I mean, somebody even asked him, are you going to apologize? He said, well, why would I? He hit me first. He came at me first. And again, preaching the gospel isn't coming at the president. It's inviting the global leaders who have obviously the world's safeties in mind, have obviously want us all to live hopefully in a collective pursuit of common good. The Holy Father is challenging everyone to pursue peace. And if that again afflicts the president and he feels as if he's being called out, well then maybe he is. And maybe that's something he should discern, or he should consider, or he should try to pick up the phone and call the president and have a conversation with him and say, okay, give me your perspective and here's mine. And that's not what he's doing. He's just late night tweeting about the Holy Father. And when he saw those three cardinals, I imagine a lot of people probably saw those three cardinals and thought, oh, Pope Leo sent them out to 60 Minutes. That's not how it works. The Pope doesn't just call people up and send them out to be his sycophants. The Pope preaches the gospel, and we who follow the gospel, we who believe in the tenets of the Roman Catholic Church, go proclaim that to the ends of the earth. So those three cardinals were being leaders in the American Catholic Church. Bothers the president. He calls out the Pope. The thing about the tweet that bothers me the most, and I've been ruminating on it all day, is he references Pope Leo's brother. And he's trying to drive like this familial wedge, like, oh, I much prefer his brother because he's all MAGA. That tells us everything we need to know about this. The president wants the Pope to be a fan of his, and he's not. Or at the very least, he's more a fan of the gospel and definitely a follower of Jesus. And that seems to bother the president. He's trying to drive this wedge issue. It actually, interestingly enough, united many people in the church today in saying, we stand with the Pope.
Katie Prejean McGrady, great to talk with you. Really appreciate it, and best of luck with your broadcast.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.